Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for our weekly 6-scale recap series, where we'll be looking at teasers, pre-order announcements, releases for the week, anything newsworthy in the 6-scale world that might not have merited its own video. And this week had a few interesting items of note, but overall did feel a little like a well-deserved break in terms of excitement, and also a break for most of our wallets, although there are some interesting releases there. But before starting and getting into things for this week, I have to go into my mandatory disclaimer. I'm not affiliated with any of these companies. I'm not affiliated with any resellers either, and I'm not using these videos as sales posts, which is why I don't post links for purchasing these. The purpose of these videos is just for me to discuss things that I find interesting news-wise in the 6-scale world that has been essentially posted on social media. And in particular, I want to discuss things that aren't just interesting, but they're products that I might be tempted to get for my own collection. And I do think once pictures go public for announcement, it's pretty much up for discussion. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into things, and we'll start with news updates and teases. And the first two updates are regarding the new Hot Toys Artisan DX line with the Joker and Anakin Skywalker figures. So Sideshow has officially posted the pre-order dates for both. The Joker is going to be up first next Thursday, August 17th at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern time for those of us like me on the East Coast. Now Anakin is going to follow on Friday, August 18th at the same times, 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern. So we already knew the dates, but now we have confirmation that these are going to be first come, first serve. With both of these being so limited in quantity, I'm expecting that they'll be waitlisted shortly after the pre-order window launches. And I think the only thing that could potentially stop that might be sticker shock. I have seen some pricing coming from overseas that seems to indicate these could be around the $500 mark, maybe even more. So I'm sure that'll be a big question mark for some of us. Now for me, I'll be honest, I did have a moment where I thought maybe I'll try to get one of them, but I quickly reassessed and realized that was just FOMO speaking. And honestly, my hope is if you are a huge fan of these characters, that you do get a chance to pick them up. So I'm not even going to try. But I will wish all of you who are going to make an attempt at these the best of luck, and hopefully these get into your hands instead of into the hands of scalpers. Now, with the Joker, one thing I wanted to touch on were these pictures that JC Hong posted of the sculpted hair version of the figure. And I'll just say, if you aren't fortunate next Thursday and to get the rooted one, and you still want a Joker, this sculpted version looks phenomenal. I actually think the hair on this might be better than the rooted. Just everything here stands out with the detail on every strand of hair, not to mention the amazing work on the sculpt. I don't want this to turn into a Hot Toys versus InArt thing, but if you still need a Joker in your collection, this might be a great option for you, and one that might be a little more budget friendly. I'll definitely keep this one on my radar, but for now, I am happy with my older Jokers, but just worth noting. Now the next tease is by Present Toys, and it's really funny to me how companies just either on purpose or by accident end up competing with each other, because this tease will go directly against one of the announcements from the week. So Present Toys is teasing a Cooper figure, the character played by Matthew McConaughey in Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. Now, I really liked the movie. Did I think it was as good as, say, Inception? No, but it's a solid movie overall, and I think it's an interesting choice for a 6-scale figure, and I appreciate that these third-party companies are jumping more and more into movies that the big boys won't even touch. Honestly, not sure how much interest there would be for this movie, but for the right price, I'd definitely be tempted. So definitely looking forward to the full reveal. And the last kind of news story is that Hot Toys officially revealed the updated 2099 Spidey figure, which had already appeared in the conventions. But they are finally showing some pictures of the new bodysuit, which replaces the previous all-plastic version with the exposed joints that was almost universally despised. I do think this is an overall improvement, and I really like the effects on the suit to see some kind of a luminescent pattern. I do question how useful those are and effective that they'll be in the long run. I mean, you would essentially need to have a specific light type in your display to make use of these on a permanent basis. And the question becomes how many of us would actually do that. But I think it's an overall improvement. I'm passing on all the animated stuff, but I'm curious if you did have this figure on order, or if you were on the fence, if you think this is an improvement over the original announcement. Now let's move on to announcements, and the biggest one for the week for me is the John Rambo from Threezero. Now this marks their third version of the character in 6-scale form, this time coming from the sequel Rambo First Blood Part 2. Now I haven't picked up the figure from the first movie. I'm keeping an eye on it, but I'm hoping for a deal. But this one, This one is going to get ordered as soon as it launches, which is happening next week on Wednesday, August 16th. Now, for me, I love Rambo 2. I remember watching it as a kid, and before anybody says anything, it was the 80s. And I just have to, and just for me, this movie was one of the first movies that really stuck with me. While I think First Blood has the overall better story, I unapologetically love this movie. From the opening where Colonel Troutman visits Rambo at the prison to the very end where Rambo has the final battle with the Russian colonel in a great helicopter versus helicopter fight sequence, I just can't pass on this figure. Overall thoughts, I'm really excited. At first, I think there was something about the sculpt that I thought could use a little improvement. And when I say a little, I mean just a tad, because to me, there's no mistaking the likeness. But again, the more I look at the promo shots, the more I think this looks amazing. As a counterpoint, I own the original Rambo 2 figure from Hot Toys. It's still in the box, never removed, but I can tell you 100% that it looks nothing like this. And the sculpt technology has evolved so much since that original release. Maybe I'll do a comparison once I get this one in hand. But everything here, from the body selection with the scars to all of the accessories, just to me showcases an amazing package overall. And Threezero really didn't stop themselves here. They gave him the big machine gun from the end where he shoots up the command center, and they also gave him the AK that he equips during the aborted rescue mission where Murdoch orders the mercenaries to abandon him. And it's not shown on the promo pics, but at the end you see that they even included the bazooka he uses to shoot down the Russian helicopter at the end. And of course you get his signature bow and knife. There's a ton to like here, and a lot that I feel you can do with this figure, really recreating an entire range of scenes with him from start to end of the movie. I have seen some complaints about the shoulders being actually visibly jointed. I don't mind it. At least in these pics, I think the posability you get with the bow and with those joints makes up for having to see them. Honestly, I don't really think I have anything negative to say about this one. I've been waiting for Threezero to release this version, and I'm happy to say that they didn't disappoint. I unfortunately missed out on the Rambo 3 version. Maybe I'll try to hunt that one down, but it's going for a lot of money now. Now, I'm just curious if this is it, or if Threezero might have more in store for us. I think of the later sequels, Rambo 4 would be the one of most interest to me. If we were to get that figure though, I feel like it would need to have that massive 50 cal that Rambo uses at the end of the movie. To me, that was the most memorable sequence and is really what would set him apart from the other versions of the character. But for now, I'll be happy with what we're getting. I will be on Threezero's site on Wednesday to get my order in without fail. Now, next figure is also from Threezero, and it's Rick Grimes in his Season 7 look from The Walking Dead. So for starters, I only made it through the first 3 or 4 seasons of the show. It's still on my list to go back and watch, but with so much out there, I just haven't had a chance. Look, I'll say I loved those early seasons, but I won't say I felt the need to pick up figures from the line. So why discuss this one? And the answer is, it looks really good. I mean, I have to say, Threezero is one of those companies that I feel has developed over the years. They had the X-Files license originally, and I ended up passing on those. Even though I loved that show, that was the show that I couldn't wait to watch, and I would have loved to have a Mulder and Scully. I just didn't think the figures were that good, so I passed. But since then, Threezero has impressed me with the Rambo figures, and for me, in hand, the Stranger Things line is actually pretty impressive. Sculpt and accessories on those are surprisingly good. Now, when I saw the pictures drop for this one, I actually immediately felt tempted to maybe look into picking this up. Without knowing how the show developed, I don't really have a feel for a lot of the other releases, but this one looks really good. Tailoring on the clothes, excellent. The accessories are great, and I do think Rick Grimes is a memorable character, so I thought maybe worth having one in the collection. I think he might look great standing next to the Last of Us figures, for example. Here's the thing though, as amazing as this looks, and again, I wanted to touch base on this release specifically because Threezero did such a good job, and I do think they're definitely doing some great things with their product lines. But again, as awesome as this figure looks, would I be happy with just the one? I mean, Sideshow still has Maggie available, although she's almost gone, but then am I really going to try to hunt down some of the older characters? And any of you that pay attention to my channel, and in particular my MCU pickups, knows that I like to flesh out a line. So would I be happy with just one character? I think for me, it's better to not even ask that question and avoid this altogether. Marvel, Star Trek, Gangster's Kingdom, and a lot of these one-off third-party lines are already pushing my budget, so I don't even want to contemplate getting pulled into another line. But I do want to say again, I really like how this looks, and if money were no object, I would pick him up. Okay, now final announcement of the week takes us back to the Interstellar figure teased by Present Toys. And like I said, it's curious how different companies, either by design or purely by coincidence, end up tackling the same figures. Now, while Present Toys is just teasing the figure, Three Step Studio actually revealed the pictures of theirs. And I've never heard of Three Step Studio either. Now, they did their promotional shots in a very artistic way, never really fully revealing the sculpt in great lighting. So I'll start with the overall impressions. I think they did a good job with the suit, the helmet, the backpack, and the base. Everything looks really top-notch here, with amazing detail work on just everything overall. And even the patches on the suit really give it this amazing feel and realistic feel. Now, the base is magnetic, so I'm curious if they solved the in-art issue, or maybe the figure is stable enough on its own that we won't really have any issues with the base. The other thing here is the figure is pretty bare bones. Not that you would expect much more given the movie, but it's basically just an astronaut with a pack and some controls. Looks great overall, and I do think it shows a lot of attention to detail with the suit. Where it gets me a little bit is the sculpt. The hair is sculpted, so no rooted, and it looks like you can remove the helmet, but I can't help but think that the sculpt isn't quite there. I think you can kind of tell who it is, but I think it needs more work. And this is where we get into the crux of this one. This is limited to 200 worldwide, according to the announcement, but as a result, this is up for sale at about $630 at some sites. That is a ton of money. That's in-art level, and possibly even, the Artisan DX line from Hot Toys level. First of all, I personally have not heard of this company again, so it's definitely a leap of faith for that cost. And at that price, I would expect the sculpt to be perfect. It has to be, and to me, it's just not there. Throw in the lack of accessories, and I just wouldn't be able to justify paying this much for this figure. Again, Interstellar, great movie, but this would have to be my absolute favorite movie in the world for me to consider given the cost. That's where I think the Present Toys might offer a more palatable option for a niche character like Cooper. The price just blew me away. I mean, maybe it's normal for a custom piece, but I feel like for a mainstream piece, even if it is capped at just $200, the cost is a deal breaker. Possibly for a lot of people, and I think the Present Toys tease is going to maybe put a little damper on this release as people wait for a cheaper option. And now, the final announcement for the week isn't much of a surprise considering the figure's appearance on the convention circuit, but we are finally getting the official release pics of the new armored version of Moff Gideon. Look, I'm not collecting the Mandalorian line at all, just hasn't been as appealing to me, but it doesn't mean I can't appreciate a piece that looks amazing, and this Moff Gideon looks incredible. I think the updated armor looks to fit better on the figure. Cape on the first one wasn't bad, but again, this one just looks better overall. The key highlight here is the sculpt. I think this continues the awesome work Hot Toys has been doing, and without a doubt, it feels like a step up from the prior release. Detail work here is phenomenal, and the rolling eye system works well. In the past, I felt like sometimes the rolling eyes have detracted from the sculpt, but that's not the case here. Sculpt and the eyes just integrated great together. And even the detail work on the hair. This is one of those figures that's highly tempting just to have with my Star Wars collection. It's funny, I have Reva on order, I own Kylo Ren from The Force Awakens, and I have the Grand Inquisitor on order as well. It feels like I'm definitely leaning into the villains for Star Wars, so maybe I could convince myself to pick up Moff Gideon. Besides the sculpt though, the helmet here looks pretty good. I love the crimson visor on the black, just makes for a striking look, and honestly the small blade elements sticking out just add to the intensity of the overall helmet. With the incredible sculpt though, I'm not sure which way would be best for display because I don't know that you would want to cover up the sculpt, but the helmet does look awesome. And then the accessories here, staff with the electrical effect and the flames also looks great and definitely give you some nice options for display. One thing I didn't see them really highlight, except for the shot showing all the accessories at the end, is the jetpack. He does come with it and it has the flame effects, but you don't get a flexible flight pole, which is a shame because you could have had him posed mid-flight coming down. But that can always be remedied by picking something up on the secondary market. Still, I'm glad they included that, so overall amazing release, and they're also teasing the Praetorian Guards. That would really make an amazing display option overall. For me right now, it's a pass. I would say I'll wait for it to go on sale, but with the latest Hot Toys trend of figures essentially selling out before release, I don't expect that this one will make it to the in-stock bargain bin. Now, moving on to releases. There was a quarter scale Iron Man release, but I don't collect quarter scale, so we'll skip that one. But from Hot Toys, I guess even though we saw some pictures last week of the WB 100 Wonder Woman, she has officially released, with Secret Base finally showing pictures of the art box, which looks nice. But the other release from the week for you Star Wars fans was the droid set consisting of R5-D4, the Pitroid, and BD-72. Now look, when this came out, I wasn't a fan at all. And if it wasn't that the droids were bad, I think Hot Toys did an amazing job with them. But for me, it was more the price. For what you were getting, I thought it was too expensive. But clearly, I was wrong because this thing has been on waitlist for a while. So collectors obviously thought it was worth it. And again, droids turned out great. BD-72 is actually kind of cute, almost looking like a little dog. What I do think they would have been nice of Hot Toys to do, especially given some of the promo shots, was to actually include more pit droids. As it stands, you would either have to pick up multiple sets or hunt them down on the secondary market for parted out pit droids. I think again, for the cost, Hot Toys could have thrown at least one extra droid in there. But look, overall it turned nice. So that was it for the week for me. Again, pretty light, although Threezero did make some noise. But for me, there's only one clear pickup, which is that Rambo figure. The rest look great, but other than the Interstellar Cooper from Present Toys that I'm interested in, I think the others are going to be passes. Some easier than others. So let me know what you think on these. And if there's any figures I didn't cover that you might think are worth looking at, let me know. And as always, thanks for watching. And if you are enjoying the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.